Hello and welcome to our video on Windows Operating System Fundamentals for Ethical Hacking and Penetration Testing. Are you interested in learning how ethical hackers and penetration testers leverage the power of Windows Operating System? You are in the right place. We will dive into an introduction to the world of ethical hacking and penetration testing using Windows Operating System. We will explore the tools, techniques, and best practices that ethical hackers and penetration testers use to identify vulnerabilities and access security risk and protect against cyber attacks. Whether you're a cybersecurity blue team or a red team, ethical hacker, or you want to get into the penetration testing industry, this video will provide you with valuable insights and practical knowledge to enhance your skills and stay ahead in the ever-evolving field of cybersecurity. So join us on the exciting journey as we explore the Windows operating system and its application for ethical hacking and penetration testing. Let's dive in and unlock the power of Windows operating system in securing the digital world. So today we will talk about the security fundamentals for ethical hacking, and let's dive in very quickly on the cyberspace. The cyberspace has a blue team and red team, but the trend these days become the purple team. What is the purple team is? The purple team is a combination between the blue team knows how the attack's happening, and the red team is also knows how the operating system works. The combination of these two areas became the purple team. And in order to understand how the purple team actually works, or as a penetration tester, you need to know a wide different of technologies such as Windows and Linux. Most of the operating system we will encounter during our assessment, whether on premises or on cloud, will be based on these two operating systems. It is very important to understand how to attack and defend these operating systems and how to use them as a platform for further penetration testing activities. So in this session and in the coming 14 sessions, we will discuss the Windows operating system. And if we're gonna talk about Windows, we need to know a little bit about the history of Windows. Windows started first time at 1985 and was a graphical operating system. The graphical operating system was for DOS, if anyone remember DOS. Then they introduced the Windows File Manager and Program Manager and Printing Manager programs in the same year. First Windows with internet support was the Windows 1995, and since then the initial version started to evolve and released such as Windows XP, Windows Vista, and 8 up to 10 and 11, what we using these days. Then we have another subject to talk about, which is the Windows servers. As it first released in 1993, then the update through the years, adding technologies such as Internet Information Services, the IIS, various networking protocols to facilitate admin tasks, and then adding Active Directory on the year of 2000, which was initially intended to help system administrators to set up file sharing and data encryptions as well as VPNs. And on the same version, they came up with Microsoft Management Console, the MMC. Then they got better in the next version of 2003 as they came up with a built-in firewall, as well as failover clustering and major enhancement of the Active Directory. Over the years, they came up with the version of 2008, then 2012, 2016, and the latest version is the 2019, which support the Kubernetes and the Linux containers as well. And in the same 2019, they came up with more advanced security features. There's something very important we need to note in the 2008 and 2012, which is it's already reached the end of life support or security updates. However, they released something called out-of-band support for earlier versions due to some viruses and malicious malwares came out, such as the virus Eternal Blue, which is we all knows about. Many versions they consider a legacy. What does that mean? Legacy is a version which is no longer supported by Microsoft. But we found some organizations often find themselves running older versions to support critical applications. And as a penetration tester, you need to understand the difference between different versions and what kind of misconfigurations associated and vulnerability inherited with each of those versions. Here's some examples of the operating system names associated with the version number. Like, for example, we can see the Windows XP is associated with the 5.1 version number, and Windows 7, for example, as well as Server 2008 R2 associated with 6.1 version number, and the latest version, which is Windows 10, as well as the Server 2016 and Server 2019 associated with version number 10.0. So I would like to show you in the next section how we can run a command on the PowerShell to find out the exact version of the Windows system we're working on. And that command is the get. So I would like to open PowerShell. And of course, we can open the PowerShell from the start menu, as we see here. And we can run the get command. So get dash WMI object dash class space win 32 underscore operating system bar to filter the result. Select version, comma, and the build number. And we press enter. Okay, I think I know. The syntax is very, very important in our case, especially when we're working with PowerShell. Okay, there we go. All right, here's actually the version of 10.0.22000. This is the version, the exact version of the operating system we are working on right now. And this is the most effective way to know and find out what kind of operating system in terms of Windows we're working on. And why this is important? This is important because if we want to identify the vulnerability on a specific operating system, we need to know which version we're working on, because as I mentioned before, every vulnerability is associated and inherited to that specific version of the operating system. So this is a very important note to mention. And if we talking about operating system, there is two ways to get connected to the operating system. The first one is local, second one is remote. The local access to the operating system, how we can explain that? Anyone has watching this right now on a computer or a smartphone or any kind of device, it means that this person has a local access to that operating system. And to interact with this operating system, you need tool to input, such as a keyboard or mouse, and a tool to output, such as a screen or a printer, if we wanted actually to print the output. But in the organizational environments, it's very common to have the system administrator or the help desk using remote access to the computers has been given to the employees in order to apply security policies, such as updating system or providing technical support to those computers owned by the organization. With that, let's have a look on the remote access concept. The remote access concepts is accessing the system through a network. And there is a countless number of remote access methods. And there is a big industry that rely completely on remote access, such as cloud computing systems. And of course, thanks to the advanced networking and internet technologies who took that to the next level and secured the remote administration to computing and operating system. Managed service providers and managed securing service providers, MSSPs, have the organizations with IT departments, and their security teams are primarily rely on remote access functionality. The goal is to centralize, automate tasks, quick response to potential threats, build applications and manage servers, and manage employees' workstations using these technologies. Here we see some examples of accessing technologies such as virtual private networks, security shell, file transfer protocol, FTP, and the secure version of it, which is FTPS, virtual network computer, Windows remote management, PowerShell, and one we're gonna discuss later on in this topic of today, which is remote desktop protocol, RDP. Let's talk about RDP briefly. RDP is used as a client-server architecture, which using an IP address or host name connection over a network, where the RDP access is enabled on the target machine. It's very, very important to note that for security purposes, the RDP is disabled by default and it has to be enabled in order to connect. Plus, it uses port 3389. How that works? The machine where the RDP enabled, it acts like a server, and the server is listening on port 3389, as I mentioned earlier. And this machine is identified on the network through either an IP address or a host name. So the request packet get encapsulated when it reached the target via the IP address. Then packet request header specify the port number, which is the target machine using the RDP service and ready to listen for the RDP request on this port number. So the application on the target machine is ready to listen and to move forward using the service. It is the same concept of using any kind of service on a remote machine. We can use the RDP to connect to any Windows target during the attack if we using a Windows or Linux as an attacking machine. And each of them has different approach. From Windows to Windows, we can use the built-in RDP application called Remote Desktop Connection, which is, again, let me show you that. We can get the RDP from the Windows menu by just typing RDP, Remote Desktop Connection, as we see in here. We can open that. As we see in here, we can show more option, and by actually entering the IP address or the host name, as well as the username and password, we can connect easily to the remote machine using Windows as an attacking machine to connect to the Windows remote machine. And now I will show you how to connect from a Linux attacking machine to connect to the Windows machine. So let's actually open Hack the Box, one of the labs, which is I really prefer to work on because their labs is very, very smooth and very, very nice. There we go. This is actually the lab machine made by Hack the Box Academy. And what we're gonna do, we will type the command, which is x free RDP utility, as we mentioned before. And the IP address will be -v colon, then the IP address in this case will be 10-129-89-104. Then the username of the remote machine, which is gonna put -u colon, and the username in this case will be hacktheboxhtb -student And the password will be dash p colon, and the password in this case will be academy underscore when fun exclamation mark, and we'll press enter. There we go. It's asking, do you trust the above certification? We will say yes. Press enter. And now we're connected to the Windows machine, um, con connected to the Windows machine through the RDP protocol remotely. And there we go. We can also go back to Bash, and this is how we can connect. Was a brief lesson about the Windows history and how we can um, use Windows as a server remote machine. And in the next lesson, we will go and dive a little bit deeper. Excuse me, dive a little bit deeper in the Windows operating system to find out how to attack and mitigate against most of the attacks out there. So stay tuned and see you in the next session. Stay safe.